passed away. One of them was Dorothy Healy, and another was Frank Zeidler. He was the socialist mayor of Milwaukee until 1962. I actually had met Zeidler one afternoon, and I asked him about something. He immediately went to the typewriter, the manual typewriter, began typing out, talking points for me to go to a hearing. And I was really amazed. This guy used to be mayor of a big city. I could never get that much out of my mayor over here. So and then John Court was somebody else I knew who also passed away the same summer. And John Court was very active in the Catholic labor movement. And so I said, I better start talking to some people I know. And I would write down some of their stories. And I was going to call my friend Carl Scheer, who worked for the United Auto Workers and was somewhat of a mentor, to me. He's very famous for repeating Vic Gottbaum's famous slogan. When somebody would always screw up when I asked him to do something, he would say, well, schmuckism is worse than Stalinism. And I was going to give him a call because, I hadn't seen him for almost 20 years. Every month, I would get what was called a care packet from Carl Scheer. And you'd open it up, and it was reproductions. He used the United Auto Workers copy machine. Reproductions of all sorts of articles from progressive magazines. And every time, he did this for hundreds of people, he would sign it. Hi Harlan, how you doing, Carl? Now, nobody writes letters anymore. And I said, somebody called Carl. And before I had a chance to call him, I got an email telling me that he had passed away. And I said, well, I better get this thing written. So that's part of it. And the idea came to me. Jimmy Higgins was an actual cartoon character who appeared in the newspapers. He was created by Ben Hanford, who was a typographer, who did a cartoon, and he was the guy that always had to sweep up after the meetings, and never got any credit for his work. And when I joined the Democratic Socialist Organizing Committee, which is not a party, it's just an organization, the back page of the newsletter was Jimmy Higgins Reports. And there was this whimsical drawing of Jimmy Higgins. He was always sitting in a chair. He had a broom, cleaning up. And people used to talk about Jimmy Higgins' work, which was the people that passed out the leaflets. So I thought, for you, I'll embellish this character a little bit more. But Jimmy Higgins is very well known in labor circles. And in fact, when I finished this book, writing it, I discovered that Upton Sinclair had written his own novel called Jimmy Higgins, spelled differently. And but it was primarily around the time of World War I, and it was published in 1919. So it's like Paul Bunyan. It's a legendary character. Everybody has their own take on that character. Okay.
Did you research in the New York Times?
Yes. I specifically the description of the riot, and I read two different accounts. One was from the New York Times, and the other was from the Ohio Socialist. And the New York Times actually kept talking about policemen's billy clubs used to good effect, and about most of those arrested were foreign born. And the Ohio Socialist talked about how the police charged the crowd. And if I had gone into more detail, I probably would have gone to the fact that the Times reported gunshots fired at horses, and the Ohio Socialist paper reported that there were gunshots fired by a night watchman, and two people were reported killed. And it was said it was the biggest May Day riot that year. There were a lot of things going on in 1919. I mean, what I was doing here was just a small, very small section. I mean, the 1919 was a big year for the steel strike, and the Wobblies were involved in a lot of things. And there was the lynching of Wesley Everest in Washington. He was a member of the IWW, and they came and they lynched him he was still wearing his uniform from World War I. See, that's the funny thing about that is that that's the whole thing about the soldier in uniform. People in the military, they were political, and it was a big year. And of course, that was the Red Scare started after that, and then later you had Sacco and Vanzetti. I was thinking about doing something on them, but I thought, boy, you can only cover so much, and I tried to set it in Ohio because nobody would think of Ohio as being any place that anything ever happened. And it was, a lot of things happened in Ohio. And I kept thinking about this family, and I actually talked to Eileen Egan, who's a professor of history at the university, and I said, is this plausible? And we would talk about the family and how many years apart they were born before the next kid was born, and the suffrage movement and what would have happened. There's different types of things going on. The suffrage movement, there were those that were into direct action and chaining themselves to things, and they got arrested and went on hunger strikes. And then there's the more, I don't say middle class, but the approach to be, let's just leaflet and organize and put pressure on the legislature. And so I set it in a family that would be more apt to do that. Because there were a number of middle class youngsters joined the radical movement. It wasn't all people from the working class, which is not unlike what happened in the 60s. A lot of the whole of it, but a lot of college students at very prestigious universities were becoming members of SDS,